It's making her eyes look distorted and it's not very suitable for her. If it's sloping down, we don't want to go long on the outer corner and we want to use something that's a bit more curly. So this would be like the perfect styling, which is more of a natural style and keeping the outer corners really, really short. Let's create a lash style for this lovely lady. I'm going to just pop a grid here for you so you can see exactly what we are looking at. A grid always helps also when you're taking photos of your client's eye shapes to see if they're downward facing upwards or if they are not balanced too far apart. So in this case, you can tell by using a different color quickly that in this instance, her eyes are definitely not exactly the same, which is normal. So in this case, we can see, for example, that her eye is not sitting super straight. On this side here, it's definitely slanting down slightly, and all over the look really is more like a downturned eye. Yeah, it is very slight, but it is definitely a little noticeable. Her eyes are pretty much set in the middle of her face. If we were to draw a line in the middle here and were to measure from here to here, and then we took this area and put it here, it would look to be pretty much exactly the same distance. So we can pretty much confidently say they're not far apart, they're not close together, but we have noticed that they are sloping down just ever so slightly. Yeah, so we need to be very careful when we're choosing a styling for this girl. So anything that's going to be too long is going to accentuate that slopiness of her eyes and make her look a bit more sad and droopy. You can also tell by her little bits of wrinkles that she has here that kind of aids to that droopiness look a little bit. And because her eye is quite wide in this area and more so shaped downwards rather than giving her lift, it also looks like her eye is slightly downward. Yeah, so there's lots of different little things that we have to take into consideration. So what kind of styling can we do on this person? Well, first up, we want to draw in some eyelashes. So let's put some eyelashes on her. We're gonna zoom in for this. So you can even see here, her lashes are sitting quite low. Like if you were to follow them, it would look something like that, which obviously we want to avoid. So if you were to put really long lashes on her, it would look something like that. Yeah, and then if you, I'm just going to continue this so that you get the idea of what I mean of choosing the wrong styling. We're just going to do like a more of a B curl, C curl on her without too much lift. And I'm not going to draw all of the lashes in right now. I just want to give you a little bit of an idea of what happens if you go too long in the outer corner. So by zooming out, you can definitely tell how that made it look a little bit more droopy. Yeah, so let me just quickly go ahead and copy this layer so that we can show you. If I was to put this onto the other side, it would look something like that. So yeah, it's making her eyes look distorted and it's not very suitable for her. Yeah, so this is why I always say take photos, make a grid and have a look at your client's natural eye shape. If it's sloping down, we don't want to go long on the outer corner and we want to use something that's a bit more curly. So now let's try and create a styling for her that actually suits her. So again, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I feel like what you can also do when you are starting to create your style guide, you can go in and do some points. So if you want to go maybe up to here, I selected red. If you want to go up to about here, put a little dot there. If you want to come down slightly, you dot that as well. And you can totally do that on the client's eye. Yeah, so this would be like the perfect styling, which is more of a natural style and keeping the outer corners really, really short. So I'm essentially in this area going from something long to something short quite quickly because we want to avoid any droopiness in this area. I'm going to take the dots out again and I'm just going to redo them very faintly so you can kind of follow along. And then we're going to go from short. So it would be like a squirrel effect. That could be on the natural side as well, yeah, depending on how long you go towards her arch as well. So for now I'm kind of drawing in these guides, yeah. So this is essentially what you would put as your guideline as well, but we'll work on that afterwards. So this is our little guide. So we're going to go from short to something longer in this area and then back down again. And I'm going to use something that's more curly in the outer corner, and then like a C and the D curl, for example. And then in the inner corner, you can have a C or even transition to a B curl. So from about here, I will transition from the D to the C. Now we're going to try and duplicate it and go over to the other side, and this will really tell us whether her eyes are completely symmetrical or not. And you can tell by me just distorting it slightly and lifting it upwards, it would fit quite nicely, but you can see how we have now distorted it, whereas this one was straight in the beginning, and you can tell that in this area, for instance here, it's sitting too low for her now, yeah. So what we need to do really is to have this layer distort a little bit and make it come upwards more, yeah. And this will really help kind of make everything fit together. So what does it tell us? It basically tells us that this eye here is sitting slightly higher in here, because when we tried to duplicate it and slide it over, it wasn't quite matching up. Okay, now that we have that determined, I'm just going to add a couple more lashes in. Now we're just going to quickly go ahead and put our little dots in here as well to know where we're following. And then again we had like a B or a C curl here, C transition to a D curl. So this is our style guide. And now we need to make sure that that style guide goes onto the bottom. I'm going to put some eye pads underneath. Obviously your client would have their eyes closed. I'm going to try my best to make them look even. So that's as good as it will get right now. And now what we want to do is transition the top that we have just created in the style guide and put it onto the bottom, because now we want to obviously go ahead and have that be our guide, yeah. So what we do is we have our clients shut their eyes, and then you're going to place those little dots, and she will have those dots on her lash line. So you can literally recreate the dots and put them right on her lash line. And from there on, we can now go ahead and replicate those dots on our iPad to make sure we know what style we want. So put it on top of the iPads and do the same on the other side. And make sure you know exactly that everything's balanced. Now you can make lines out of those dots. You don't have to have dots right away. You can if you want to. So this is our little guide now. And the amount of sections that you have within your lash style is really more so determined by the width of the eye. Now the length that you're using throughout the set is really determined by the natural lashes. How long are the lashes? What diameter you use? How much longer can you physically go without damaging the natural lashes, yeah? So say for example, it might be 6s and 7s in the inner corner, transitioning to 8, 9s and 10s. And then you would go back down to 987, for example, which is the natural style, yeah? Or you could do, if her lashes are slightly longer and they can take a little bit more weight, or length rather, you could go like that. You could then drop down to a 9 and an 8 if that was more of a squirrel look, because you have like a transition of 2 millimeter jumps in this area, which then creates that kind of slopey effect, yeah? So again, the length is determined by how strong the natural lashes are. So let's just keep it at that. You can also look at the client's shape of the eyebrows and how much room we have from the eyebrow to the lash line. Because if there's not much room, you don't want to go very long with the lashes either. So yeah, I hope that this helped. And as you can see, this kind of styling is a lot more suitable than the first one that we have determined is not suitable. Let me know if you have any other questions or you want me to do any of those videos with a styling that you're not sure about. Send in your photo and I can record a video on this and then post it up in the groups or the YouTube channel. And if you got some value from this, make sure you share it with your lash artist friends as well. Bye.